Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to today's podcast episode. I am so grateful for those of you who are joining me for another episode today. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Cass, and I am a holistic embodiment mentor for shadow work, inner child healing, and intuitive development. I'm also a women's circle facilitator and Reiki practitioner, so I dabble in so many different areas of healing. I am such a passionate advocate for the inner child and generational healing, and I was really inspired to open a podcast to bring conversations around mindset growth and healing. I believe that these types of podcasts can really be the domino effect to allow conversations within the home that are really constructive, really healthy, and really start to challenge different mindsets to move forward and grow together. If you're only new to my podcast, I so recommend going back and listening to all of my other ones because they really do give a lot of context around the inner child, especially that episode 1, and then going through and talking about the energetic capacity in that episode as well, just because it's going to give you a lot more context for today's episode. In today's podcast, I feel called to dive into discussion around creating more space for the inner child to be expressed and 5 simple ways you can allow for this in your day-to-day life. Through nurturing your inner child, you increase your dopamine, allowing you to feel that spring in your step and heightened sense of calm, joy, and abundance in your life. I invite you today to take a journal or a notebook after the episode to reflect on how you encourage your inner child to express themselves and how you can continue to nurture their moments, stepping into their curiosity, their excitement, and their determination. Previously, we spoke about the importance of allowing the inner child into our lives, as well as the importance of your energetic capacity. And together, these 2 previous episodes have the foundations for you to step into today's episode ready to take action and make change. I'm going to start with one of the most obvious ways to lean into opening space for your inner child to be expressed, and that is creating a safe space every day for them to communicate themselves. This may be journaling, this may be connecting in meditation, it may even just be taking a moment to sit on the floor, take a big deep breath in, and connect with your heart space to tune into any doubts, emotions, or thoughts your inner child is having that day. All you need is 5 minutes every single day to create a space for them to feel heard. This might look like 5 minutes in a block element, or it may actually just be taking moments throughout the day to stop and tune in. So if you're going through a time of making big decisions, taking a moment to step aside, tune in to any doubts, any emotions, any feelings that are coming through for them in this space. Like any child, if you place them on silent for weeks on end, after a while, they will feel neglected and feel resentment or fear towards opening up to you. Your inner child craves regular space to be heard, to be acknowledged, and to feel as though their voice matters to you. So a great simple way I love to connect and create space for my inner child each day is bedtime. I like to think of this as like the important moments of reading your own children a book before bed. It's allowing a moment to be fully present in their energy and connect with them. For me, I like to spend a few minutes before sleep to check in with my inner child as well as my own emotions. This is only a few moments, and I often won't write this down in my ritual journaling. It's just something that I like to sit there, ask myself a few questions, and focus on my breath while opening myself to receiving whatever needs to be heard, held, or felt from my inner child. Now, this isn't a time for me to make decisions or give my inner child advice or anything like that. Simply a time to be a safe space holder rather than a soundboard. In these few moments, often I'm presented with either a limiting belief or the needs that my inner child are desiring for connection with other people, myself, or different things that I'm involved with in that time. Now, on top of this, like I said, I like to pause where there is a lot of things going on, big decisions, big emotions, and I like to tune in for just a moment, connecting in with my heart space, hands over my heart space, closing my eyes, taking a breath, and just really allowing my inner child to have a moment to just express their emotions and feel seen within that. Because often as adults, we feel as though we need to absorb everything now and process later, but it doesn't work like that for our inner child. Our inner child really needs to process things on the spot and really needs to be heard. They almost have no impulse control, so they really need to be seen and heard in that space, even if it's just a matter of acknowledging them and then saying that you'll process it with them later. I like to keep this separate to my journaling entries because I like to keep it comfortable and light for my inner child. So just tuning in like you would have a very quick 5-minute phone call with a friend to see how they are versus meeting with them for an hour coffee to go through all the nitty-gritty details. It's just that quick check-in, see how they are, see anything that's coming up, and then kind of come back to it later if it needs more attention. Moving on to something lighter, the second way to allow for more expression from your inner child is through your clothing choices. And it sounds simple, right? When you are 3 to 5 years of age, your creativity is at an all-time high. And this is where we see many children experiment with their clothing choices, their costumes, their accessories. I see this all the time in my house. I am a mum of 3 boys, and I have children who are 5, 3, and almost 2. And it's insane how the correspondence of their creativity, their chakra system, and their ages, like the relevance of all of that is so obvious when you actually look at the foundations of their chakra system really forming. And when it comes to the development of the inner child, self-expression is huge around those ages of 3 to 5. And so in your adult years, a way that we can bring this back in and really allow ourselves a sense of creative self-expression is through our clothing. This may be that we are spending so much time routinely in uniforms or color coordinated clothing choices, and we're not really allowing enough spontaneity or creativity. You can actually allow your inner child to express themselves by providing them with days where they can add something like a pop of color here and there, or mix things up a little bit, try out some different outfit combinations that you wouldn't generally wear. It might be that you just want to go to a shop for a day and go and like try on all these different new styles of clothing, even if it's not something that you're going to wear later, but just really allowing them to explore their curiosity within clothing. This also may come into accessories, just like the inner child, bringing in different forms of accessories, different hats, different shoes, different jewelry. Like there's so many different ways that you can explore the curiosity of the inner child through clothing and allow them to express themselves, even if it's just expressing curiosity and not something that they actually permanently want to be wearing. The third way that you can lean in towards your inner child expression is through spontaneous joy. And what I mean by this is, do you remember a time as a child someone came up to you, maybe it was mom, maybe it was dad, maybe it was a teacher, and they're expressing something that you're about to do or a place you're about to go or someone who's about to visit, and it was like so exciting. It felt like Christmas or a birthday or something. Like it was just so much build up of joy. And this continued on your way to the location or waiting for someone to arrive or waiting for a day to count down. You can bring the same experience to your own life. So by leaning in towards pockets of time in your week where you can ask your inner child what's something that would light them up, you can bring this excitement into action. And this is different to just being like, I'm going to nurture my inner child by going to, a dance class every week, or I'm going to go to a yoga class every week, or I'm going to go swimming every week. Like this is actually talking about bringing in spontaneous joy. So things that are not routine based, things that are going to be like somewhat feeling special. Thinking of something that's going to bring that same level of excitement that has children squealing with joy, like that ear-piercing squeal of excitement. If you can't step into actioning this straight away, you can lean in towards the planning process. So there might be times where your inner child is really desiring to possibly fly home to see like grandparents or something like that, or someone really close to you. And so maybe you'll get caught up in the planning process of that instead. As a child, and myself specifically, I can remember a time where I told myself that when I grew up and when I had enough money, I was going to do all these different things for myself. And if you think back into it, if you're a mother and you've got young children at home, think about the times where older children might have been like, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to be able to buy like as many toys as I want, or I'm going to be able to go and buy like all of the ice cream, or I'm going to go and buy this, or I'm going to go buy that. And this is just examples of using money. Obviously, there are many other things that they would have told themselves they could do. Like I can go to the beach whenever I want, or I can go on this holiday whenever I want. Like all these ambitions that you tell yourself as a child that you're going to do when you're older. And Whilst those types of things might not feel significant to you in this moment now, like buying certain toys, it's still very much important to your inner child, remembering that for them, that nostalgic feeling and that emotion is still extremely present because energy is not defined by time or space. So those emotions that they had during those experiences are going to be just as present, just as alive, and just as significant in the now. So when you go and experience those things, your inner child is going to get just as much joy from it as they would have 20, 30, 40 years ago. So this may be something as simple as buying yourself an ice cream right before bedtime. It's a little bit cheeky, a little bit naughty, but fills up their cup. It might be dancing in the rain or jumping in muddy puddles, bringing back moments of spontaneous excitement from your childhood that will bring those nostalgic feelings, because not only does this increase that dopamine, it also provides a feeling of safety and comfort for the inner child. Their beloved activities are not out of reach for them just because your body has had some extra birthdays. And so this is really giving them that insight again that all of these things they loved are still very much available to them. There are so many opportunities for you to lean in towards reviving old childhood favorites, and I'd really love to hear from you what you decide to lean into for this. For many people, it might be making their childhood favorite food, or it might be going to watch a certain movie that they were really in love with. It might be getting out the old Lego and building this massive tower. It might be having a Nerf gun war with their friends. It might be having a sleepover. Like, there's so many different things that you can do in this element. The fourth way that you can bring to life your inner child's expression is through movement practices. Dance is one of the best movement practices for your inner child when you provide a safe space to do so. You can close your eyes, turn some music on, and really lean into visualizing through this process, allowing your body to just move and forgetting how talented of a dancer you may be. This is simply allowing for free-flowing movement, which is uplifting for the inner child who craves flow and creativity and expression over structure and methodical life practices. Structure and methodical life practices are actually desired by the ego, not the inner child, because they're desired for safety. Now, you may be someone who doesn't really enjoy dance, so you could also lean in towards shaking practices or even getting creative with your own martial arts as in intuitive form. Think back to being a child who you decided to just randomly break out in the middle of the lounge room pretending to do karate. So rather than focusing on how it looks or correct processes, taking a moment to just muck around with martial arts a little like you would with an air guitar, like it's complete visualization process, and bringing yourself back into that visualization and daydreaming process that you would have experienced as a child. The fifth and final way I want to share today to really activate your inner child's expression through your daily life is focusing on your core language, your throat chakra, and your communication. Ensuring that you're not constantly walking on eggshells around others, suppressing your emotions or thoughts, and keeping yourself in rooms where you can actually feel seen and heard, even when opinions are conflicting. One of the most valuable things to the inner child is to feel valued and heard by others. If you can nurture using your voice and not withholding your expression, you're also allowing them a safe space to process and share their emotions and doubt coming up, which is also going to allow them to feel valued and supported and safe. These 5 simple ways to bring the expression out of your inner child do not take a lot of time. And honestly, once you start to incorporate them that little bit more often, it doesn't even feel like a task. It doesn't even feel like something you need to think about. It just becomes an extension of your being, just like your inner child. Your inner child is already a part of you, and it's just about nurturing them. And when you nurture them, things feel lighter, your dopamine is increased, and you have that spring in your step again. I do encourage you to go back and listen to that episode 1 about the inner child. Go and listen to the episode about the energetic capacity. Combine those two. Have a look at what you can balance up in your energetic capacity, so then you can really allow more of your inner child into your life. If you've gotten this far in my episode, thank you so much for being present for this conversation today. I would absolutely love to hear from you over on my Instagram how this landed, anything that's coming up for you I am so incredibly grateful for you in this space. If you want to dive deeper into learning about the inner child or healing the inner child and generational patterns and shadow work, highly encourage you to go and find my main page, Holistic Embodiment Mentor Cass. I have several different programs that you can jump into, as well as private coaching containers, and I would love to see you in that space and hold space for you in those sessions. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I hope to hear from you in future episodes.